Hey, so I'm in my classroom. There's a little bit of a glare. I think this will work. This is going to try. I want to spend a few minutes talking about how to name angles. We've talked some about complementary and supplementary and vertical angles, which we'll talk about again. But a lot of times in the books, they name angles different ways. The easiest way they name an angle, and yeah, that's more or less visible. They may just give it a letter or a number. So they might have a 1 in here, or they might have an A in here, and they can refer to angle 1 or angle A, and sometimes they'll ask for the measure of angle 1 or the measure of angle A. And just as review, if angle 1 is equal to 70 degrees, what's the measure of angle A? And you should know that, oh, that's what's called a linear pair or supplementary angles, and so that's got to be 110. So that is one way to name angles, is just give it a letter or a number, and then oftentimes you'll see a little M out front, which means I'm talking about how big it is, as opposed to if I just say angle A or angle 1, I'm actually physically talking about the angle itself, that shape. Okay, the other way to do this again. Um, if I just have something that looks like this, A, B, C. So I have array BA and array BC, and we really haven't talked about those names yet. So let's just throw that in there. Array BA and array BC. If it's like that, and this is the way you write it too, you're starting at a point, this is the way you often write it. You don't need the ray out there. If you write it with this, you don't need to say ray. But this is basically angle B. That is a perfectly legitimate way to talk about that, is just say, well, this thing is angle B. Okay. But there's another way to name it, which is angle ABC. So it's still angle B, but I'm specifying, well, I'm kind of doing it this direction. So angle ABC is one way to name it, or totally okay to name it BAC. So that is another way to name it. So the question is, well, why would you ever do it? It seems like this is easier. It is, unless you have this situation. And actually, I'm going to do this. And we're going to say this is a right angle. And we're going to say this is ray BD. So once again, it's supposed to be a D. So I've got a ray BD. And this is the way I write it, BD with the ray going from B to D in that direction. It's got to go in that direction. That's a 90-degree angle, so we know that those two adjacent angles are complementary because they make up a corner for 90 degrees. So if I tell you okay, so here's the thing. If I tell you I'm trying to do this right here. I cannot say the measure of angle B. I'm trying to tell you, well, this thing is 30, so you got to figure out the other. There are two angle B's there. In fact, there's three angle B's there. There's this angle B, DBA. There's this angle B, ABC, and there's this third angle, DBC. So if it's confusing at all, you have to use three letters. And what's called the vertex or the corner is always the middle letter. That's really important. The other two letters don't matter other than they tell you what ray. It doesn't matter which one you list first. It doesn't have to be alphabetical. So if I'm specifying this one that I started with, I've got to use one of these two. And then if I told you that the measure of ABC was equal to, looks like it's 50 degrees, then if I wanted to figure out this other one, so think a minute, what would you call that one? And so that one would be called, I'm still on here, that would be called the measure of DBA is one way to write it. And the other way to write it would ABD. But the measure of that one, and I'm sorry, this has gotten kind of a bit of a mess here, that's 50. So since these are complementary, that one would have to be 40 degrees. So just different ways to name things. I think that's it. Let's just do one more piece of practice here. Let's slide over my rolling classroom here. I'm going to change colors and do a quick one. I think you can see that okay. So we're going to call this center point E, and I'm going to call this X, Y, Z, and what letter haven't I used? We'll say Q. All right, so my question for you is, if I'm trying to specify this angle right here on that side, how would I name it? So got to use E. So I know E is going to go in the middle, so I can use X, E, Y, or Y, E, X. So I can call it angle XEY. That's the angle. If I talk about the measure of angle XEY, then I do that. And so let's say that's 60 degrees. So my question is, what's the measure of angle YEZ? And what's the measure of angle QEZ? Okay, take a minute, think of that. And the answers are, those are vertical angles or opposite angles. So QEZ is that one. That's going to be 60. And then those two are a supplementary, or I don't think we've done this vocabulary word yet. It's called a linear pair. When they're physically attached like that along the line, those two are a linear pair. The same way those two are a linear pair. So once again, XEY is 60, then YEZ has to be 120 because I've got a straight line and they've got to add a 20. That's all. Thanks.